May the recent Trudeau-Carney Liberal Party election win be attributed to them running an honest and open campaign based on actual real issues that affect everyday Canadians in their everyday lives? Or is it because of some clandestine psyop perpetrated by a shadowy cabal of evildoers? Probably, like everything else, the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's definitely not because they ran an open and honest campaign. That's absolutely for sure. There was nothing open or honest about it. Carney to this, the Carney to this day still hasn't openly declared what he has and what he has not put into blind trust, what all of his assets are, etc., etc., etc. Whether or not he has paid taxes in Canada or has ever paid income tax in Canada, personally or for any of his businesses. We know that any business that he touches, he uses his knowledge of how the world works to take advantage of that system and make sure that the companies within which these businesses operate never see a dime in taxes from these companies. So they take advantage of all of the social services, the infrastructure, every resource they can get their hands on within Canada, but they don't actually contribute back in the form of taxes in any way, shape, or form. Just with his Brookfield management alone, it's estimated $5.4 billion in tax revenue has been funneled out of Canada because of him. And this is a person that people said, hey, he'd be a good prime minister because he really cares about Canada. The guy that hasn't lived in Canada for a decade and a half and spent the majority of his adult life living abroad because he hates it here so much he couldn't wait to get the hell out. He couldn't even go to school here. It was nothing good enough. He had to leave. But that aside, what really was the reason for their election when all he did was scratch out Justin Trudeau's name on their party's platform on which to run and replaced it with his own? And every time Pierre Poilievre would say anything about his platform, the Carney would scoop it up right away. Oh, I like that. We're going to do that. Oh, I like that too. We're going to do that. But none of it will ever get done. The only thing he's going to make good on probably is his gun grab, because they're psycho about that. It's all about control, right? That, all of the no pipeline bill, he'll make sure that not a single pipeline gets built. Sits there and shoots his mouth off, says, oh, Canada must develop its infrastructure. Yeah, well, if you guys hadn't stopped it over the last 10 years, we would have pipelines built and going right now. We would have LNG facilities up and running by now, but you guys stopped all of that. And now you say, oh no, we're going to change that. But you're not going to change the legislation that would allow you to build any of this stuff. Oh, well, we'll implement the Emergencies Act. That's not what it's there for. You have the power to change the legislation, get rid of stupid bills like C-69, build pipelines, take advantage of what we have to offer. Well, so that it can subsidize other fields and research for energy. Right now, we're not there. We're nowhere close. We have a system that works. And no, it's not killing the environment. And no, we're not all going to die in the next 5 years because of it. But anyway, when you look at the biggest reason why the stupidest people in this country voted for the Trudeau Carney Liberals. Their main concern was the big scary orange man from the south. That's it. They didn't care about crime. They don't care about the economy. They don't care about the loss of jobs, the loss of production, the dropping GDP, all of this happening over the last 10 years, the rampant, unvetted, unfettered immigration with people pouring in over the borders that hate Canada. They hate the West. They want it to burn to the ground. They have no marketable job skills whatsoever, and they're never going to work because they don't understand that concept. They have no patience or ambition to ever integrate into Western society. They want to bring all the crap from their third world here. They want to make everyone else miserable, just like them, rather than try to bring themselves up. So all of these people that voted for the Trudeau Carney Liberals, they're already in a place in their life where they got theirs. They bought their house, it's paid for or nearly paid for. They've got really good pensions that don't exist anymore these days. There are very few companies outside of government that offer any kind of decent pension. The best you can do is a company that does RSP matching and or some mutual fund or stock share fund or something like that matching. That's the best you're going to do. And even that, if you can find somebody that will match 4 or 5% of your contribution, you're doing pretty good. Nothing like the gold-plated pensions that bureaucrats get, but that's a whole other story. The point is, these people that voted for this little 4'8" hobgoblin that looks like a mix between Count Chocula and Frankenberry, the reason they voted for him is because they don't worry about any of this stuff. They live in affluent neighborhoods, so they're not worried about crime. They're not worried about people stealing their cars or home invasion robberies, because most of them live in secured neighborhoods that have security. They aren't concerned with the economy. A little bit of a bump in inflation, they can absorb. It doesn't affect them at all. They don't have anything to worry about. They don't have to worry about buying a house. They don't have to worry about the job situation because they're all retired now and their houses are paid for. So they don't have any of the worries that real people in real life have. So they had to fabricate one. They had to make one up. And what was that? Oh, the big scary orange man from the south. There's your imaginary problem. And all of these, because they have these, what they call boomers. Not all. Like I say, I very seldom speak in absolutes, because I believe that real life is not black or white. It's somewhere in the middle, in a gray area. Fuzzy logic. So these people, these boomers, they don't have to worry about anything. They don't have a care in the world. So the only thing they could rally behind was an imaginary, made-up story, right? Because everything else in their life is perfect, tickety-boo. They got theirs, like I said. So you have the younger people, my age and below. I'm a member of arguably the actual best generation, Generation X. I know people will consider that blasphemy because of the real greatest generation, but come on. If it weren't for us, our generation, the world would have fallen apart a long time ago. But we never get any mention, and we don't care. We just keep on keeping on. That's all. But the people younger, like millennials, Generation Z behind them, I'm not sure, what is it, beta after that or something, but they're the ones that have gotten really screwed by this last 10 years of liberals and what they've done to this country and its economy. Shrinking our GDP, shrinking job growth, shrinking home building. And they just destroyed it for these young folks. How are they supposed to start a family, let alone buy a house? It's just, the carney was saying, oh, it only takes 6 years to save up for a down payment. Where? Like, show me where it would only take you 6 years to save up for a down payment. I know where these places are. They're small towns like Logan Lake or something like that. Yeah, sure, maybe that's true, but there's nothing there outside of a single mine for young people. And most young people don't want to live in such an isolated town because there's nothing for their kids to really develop with. So it's not really feasible. In reality, it takes about 22 years to save up for a down payment if you want to live in a place like Metro Vancouver or Greater Toronto area, or in Edmonton, Calgary, any of the bigger cities. And I'm not talking living downtown. I'm talking rural out patches like in Metro Vancouver here. You're still easily $1 million plus, and that comes with an hour minimum of commute time each way to work, and you're still paying over $1 million easily. So when you first come out of university or you come out of trade school and you've got a mountain of debt, and even if you don't have a mountain of debt, regardless, how are you supposed to be saving up for a down payment on a house when you're just starting out in life? So you got to buy all the things. You have to have a reliable vehicle. You got to buy furniture for whether you're renting or whatever. You have to make investments in your future and your children's future. So RESPs. You got to do all of this stuff. And then, on top of that, try to save for a down payment on a house. In Metro Vancouver, the average rent down here, it's ludicrous. It's something like $1,800 or $1,900 per month. That's average. And you go into Vancouver and you're close to $3,000 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. It's nuts. So how are you supposed to pay all of that and then still save up a reasonable amount of money, a couple of grand a month? How do you do that just coming out of school? You can't. So the Conservative government was the one shot all of these young folks had at possibly having a little bit of what all the boomers have. But all the boomers, like their entire life, selfish as always, glommed on to their imaginary threat, the whole Donald Trump 51st state rhetoric that anybody with half a friggin' brain in their head knew was just BS. Well, turns out that not only was it just BS, but it was basically blatant election interference. When you boil it down to the basic principles, the way Donald Trump did this, never really talked about it until the carney entered the race. Then all of a sudden it was 51st state this, 51st state that. And then before you know it, it's all over the CBC, CTV, Global News. Everybody's ranting and raving about it. It becomes basically the sole focus of the Trudeau-Carney Liberal Party, other than taking everybody's private property, confiscating their firearms and everything from them without compensation. That aside, the number one thing on their lips was Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. And it brainwashed all of these old fogies across Canada, coast to coast to coast, who wanted something to hate. They wanted something to be angry at. And the carney gave them Donald Trump. Now, Pete Hoekstra, the U.S. ambassador to Canada, said that they're done with the 51st state talk. It's done. He said that the president may mention it once in a while, but only as tongue-in-cheek, as kind of a bit of a light ribbing, a joke. But it's done. It's, as far as they're concerned, administratively, it's finished. It's no longer being considered. It's not being talked about. It's a dead horse. They're not going to beat it off anymore. So it's awfully strange. And a lot of pundits said this, watch, within a week or two, this whole Trump 51st state thing will die. And it'll never be mentioned again. And, well, almost like clockwork. So you kind of wonder, okay, the election gets called. Trump's rhetoric with the 51st state goes into frickin' overdrive. It's incessant. All the news medias pick it up in Canada. They drive that story 24/7. Everybody gets freaked out. Like all the easily manipulated boomers, right? Keep in mind, these are the same people that get a phone call from somebody that says, hey, I'm your grandson Johnny from Canmore, and I just got picked up in jail and I need $5,000 wired to me immediately, please, so I can make bail. And they're like, okay, Johnny, was it? I don't remember it, Johnny. Oh, yeah. I'm your great-grandnephew. Oh, yes, Johnny. Oh, I'll send it right now. Okay, that's these people. These are the people that voted for the Trudeau Carney Liberals. They're that easily manipulated and that stupid. So it's no surprise they were easily manipulated into voting for the Carney, because they were fed all this nonstop BS about Donald Trump in the 51st state. That was never going to happen. We all know that was never going to happen. It's so ludicrous that I shouldn't even have to say that it was never going to happen. That's how stupid this is. Only the truly retarded, and I'm not using that term as derogatory, I mean the actual, genuinely medically certifiable retarded person would actually believe this. That the U.S. is actually going to annex Canada. This isn't Fallout the series, for crying out loud. It's not going to happen. Again, I don't like to talk in absolutes, but this is one thing you can comfortably say. It's not going to happen. If one day all the people in Canada get together and all the people in the United States, I mean people, not governments, get together and they say, hey, you know what, this would probably make sense if we just said screw it and joined together, then that's a different story. But honestly, in the future, I would see, rather than one big giant super nation, I think it's more likely that we would see fractures, because the countries as they are, they've just grown so radically different in culture, in beliefs, just straight down to the basic fundamentals of life. I could easily, well, not easily, but I could see if one thing's going to happen, a major coming together or a split, I could see the latter over the former, where you have, maybe Canada and the US get carved up into like a half a dozen different countries, and that border that Donald Trump says is imaginary, that somebody just arbitrarily drew one day with a ruler, that would just go away. It would be like what makes most sense to stick together with the commonality of the people. That way everyone can be with themselves, with people that they trust and have common beliefs, common interests, all of that, right? And are all working toward a common goal, rather than 50% going this way, 50% going that way, and no one making any progress at all. I could see that as a possibility. But just a straight up annexing of Canada, no. I mean, how would NATO even handle that if they went militarily? Because it wouldn't go administratively, it wouldn't go diplomatically, so it would have to be militarily. So how would NATO handle that? Like Canada calls up and says, Article 5, or whatever it's called. And they're like, but it's a NATO nation attacking a NATO nation. What do we do? Just unplug the phone and leave it to them. So, just kind of going back, it just seems awfully coincidental that the whole 51st state rhetoric didn't start to push really hard until it was official that the carney was going to be the candidate. And now that the election's over and he got most of what he wanted, the carney, it's all gone now. It's kind of funny that basically the major premise of the carney's platform, other than the stuff that he stole directly from Pierre Poilievre, was how he was best fitted to deal with Donald Trump in this whole thing. Donald Trump's a big guy. He's like, what, 6'2", 6'4", something like that. Pierre Poilievre's a big guy. He's 6 foot, something like that. And then you've got the carney, who's 4'8" and looks like a little hobgoblin, who really exudes strength here. And not to mention that a lot of the old fogey boomers, one of the biggest problems they always had with Pierre Poilievre was, he's too much of an attack dog. He's just an attack dog. That's all he does. He's so mean and ruthless. So who would be best to deal with Donald Trump? The attack dog who's mean and ruthless, or some little 4'8" hobgoblin? Oh, well, the carney, of course. But you just said Pierre was too much. He was too ruthless and too much of an attack dog. Oh, yes, no, he's horrible. And you don't think that would be the kind of character and personality you would want dealing with Donald Trump? Well, I just love that little carney. He reminds me of one of the gnomes I have in my garden. He's so cute. That's how they make their decision, man. Forget the young folks. Forget the next generations coming up behind them, because they got theirs. So they have no fucks to give at all. They're like, oh, screw you. We got ours. We didn't have to work hard for it. We had everything handed to us. So you young folks, screw you. Right? Yeah, a conservative government would have made Canada better in every single possible measurable sense. But screw you, because big bad orange man from the south. Anyway, that's all I have for now.